All right, guys, we are starting today the chapter on taxes. Yay, taxes. Again, how many of you, show of hands, have a job? All right, so the grand majority of you have to file taxes, right?
I did. My parents did.
Your parents did. Have any of you already filed? So you already filed yours? Has anyone else already filed? Okay. If you have not, we're going to talk about that today. I'm also going to, or not necessarily today, this chapter. I'm also going to be talking to you about stuff that's beyond you at your 17, 18-year-old selves, right? When you get to like my age and you have like kids and you have a mortgage and you have savings and all this stuff, you know, like what does that look like for taxes? Now this year, for me teaching you taxes, a lot changed this year for taxes. I don't know if you guys, your parents have mentioned it, a lot of things changed. You just give them to your mom does it? It's very nice of your mom. But I will tell you one thing, like since I've been teaching how to do taxes, I understand my own taxes so much more. And I looked at like what I did last year for taxes versus when I filed this year. And like I'm going to get back like $1,300 less this year than last year because of how they changed the tax laws. Yeah, I was not happy. Now for you guys, we'll talk about this more next week, but for you guys, typically, you will get everything back. Typically. Depends on how things are filed, and it depends how much you make. If you make over a certain amount, you may not get it all back, but typically you do when you're in high school. So, and again, next week we'll talk more about all those details. I'm still trying to pull it all together because everything's changed for this year. Okay, but for today we're going to talk about tax schedules. That is that giant booklet I gave you guys. That booklet is yours to keep. It'll be yours to be used throughout this entire chapter, okay? If you kind of flip through that tax booklet, just take a minute to kind of flip through some of those pages and see what's inside of there. It is your income, or people's income, kind of broken down for you section by section and how it's taxed. So I'm going to teach you today how to use those, which you guys may be able to look at and then look at your own taxes and what you got going on and kind of see what's going on with those. There's a lot of numbers in there, and I will help you so that you'll understand what all those numbers mean. To be honest with you, those tax table booklets, that's the easiest part of taxes, is reading those. Those are pretty easy, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and go through the notes, kind of get you an intro into taxes today. So who pays taxes? Say that again? Everyone. Yeah, everybody pays taxes. All right, so imagine how much money it takes to run your city, your state, your federal government. All the money for like your police force, your space program, military defense, national security, health research, social programs, and all those other government programs, they get their funding from taxes. That is why you pay taxes. It's not just because the government hates you and wants your money. I mean, they want your money, but they have a good reason. They pay for a lot of things for you. All right, so what are the different types of taxes? So you have property taxes, sales taxes, and income taxes. So when you are filing your taxes every year, what taxes are you filing for? It is your income taxes. Yep, you just pay them. So property taxes, those are collected based on the value, bless you, of the property you own. Now, if you rent, you do not pay property taxes. Okay, like I own my own home, I pay property taxes based on where I live. Now, depending on where you live, depends on how you're taxed. I know when we were looking, because we lived in Findlay for 10 years, and then when we moved here, we were looking for houses around the area, and you know, like we knew like how much we could afford per month. So like looking at where we could, you know, what kind of house we could afford. We looked in Perrysburg, and the house I could afford in Perrysburg was a lot less than the house we ended up buying in Waterville. Perrysburg's taxes are super high. So even though like I've looked at a value of house here, same price range in Waterville, I couldn't afford the one in Perrysburg because the taxes were too high, but I could afford it in Waterville. Taxes were lower. Okay, so that's one thing to think about is where you buy a house depends on how much taxes you get. So it makes a huge difference. We ended up buying in Waterville. I could get a bigger house, more expensive house, but my taxes were less so I could afford it. All right, sales tax, when do you pay those? Whenever you buy something, yeah. It's based on the value of the items you purchase. You go into Walmart and buy something, you don't pay just the price, what it says on the price tag, right? You got to pay tax. It's hard for children, my kids, you know, 9, 7, and 3, to get them to understand that it's, $4.99. They're like, I got $5, I can buy that. No, you can't. You're going to have taxes. It's going to go over $5. No, they don't understand that. There you go. So what do you buy that you don't pay sales tax on? Food. What if you eat in a restaurant? Do you pay tax? Yes. But if I get it to go? No tax. Isn't that weird? Income taxes. This is what you're filing taxes on when you get your W-2s and you file taxes every year. Income taxes is based on the amount of taxable income you earn. And then the word taxable income is important. It's not just based on every income you make, because some things they don't tax you on. And we'll talk about that as we kind of go through this chapter. Taxable income you earn. And that's one of the things that got changed in tax laws this year. Last year, you were able to do exemptions, and it was based on how many people were in your family. So we're a family of 5. Last year, you could take $4,050 per person in your family. So I was over $20,000 and subtract that off of your income. So instead of them taxing me on a value up here, I took $20,000 off and they only taxed me on this much. This year on taxes, they don't have exemptions. So I got taxed on $20,000 more than I did last year. Yay! Which is why I'm getting back less in my tax return. So yeah, so taxable income, that's important. We'll get into that. Who collects your taxes? Which part of the government? 3 letters. No, wrong 3 letters. There it is. Somebody knew it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys. It's the IRS. IRS. That is the Internal Revenue Service. Revenue is income. It's money. So the Internal Revenue Service. When do taxes have to typically be filed by? What's that magical date? April, not 10th. Nope. 15th. April 15th. And it could change. If April 15th falls on a Sunday, they'll usually push that to the next day. So I haven't even looked at the calendar to see if it shifts this year or not. All right, so when you file taxes, you have to indicate your filing status. Now, if you look in your tax table booklet, go ahead and flip through there for me. Just open up to a page where it's got all those crazy tables on it. Somewhere in the middle is fine. Look at the top, above where it has the dollar figures. Do you see there's little columns up there? Yeah, those are all your filing statuses. Okay, so on every table, depending on where you fall, is what column you fall into. So filing status, a description of your marital and family status on the last day of the year. Okay, you must indicate your filing status on your tax return. And then we have the choices: single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, or head of household. Yes?
So with taxes, even though you're dating someone, you still have to file single, right? Because you're not married to them.
Correct. Yeah, if you're dating someone, but you're not married, you're still single. Okay, you cannot file them together. Does not matter. You have to actually be married, legally, not just, maybe Grey's Anatomy fans in here, not just a Post-it note. See what I'm talking about, Meredith Grey? Yeah, it has to be more than a Post-it note. It has to be an actual marriage in the court of law. All right, so single then is just an unmarried taxpayer. Single usually indicates you have no children, there's no dependents, it is just you. Correct. Love that show. All right, so all of you right now, I would assume, would just be single. I don't think anybody here has any kids. Nothing. Every year, I have people who have lots of kids. That's very weird to me. All right, married filing jointly. This is where my husband and I fall. It is married people. They fill out one tax return together. Now, there are instances where if you're married, you may not want to file together. If one of you makes a lot of money, it may be better for you to file separately. Sometimes it's depending on how they tax you, because depending on where your income combines, it could push you to a higher tax bracket where they charge you a higher percentage. Typically, if you're married and you go through and either use a TurboTax program, which is how I file mine, or if you go to a tax preparer, they'll like do the math for you and be like, all right, you're going to be better off to file together or you're better off to file separately. They'll let you know so you can get the most back. All right, so but yeah, my husband and I, we married filing jointly. We don't make buku bucks one more than the other. He's a teacher also. All right, there's married filing separately. Maybe. There we go. All right. Married people file 2 separate returns. My neighbors, they file separately because they both make a lot of money. And when you put them together, that pushes them to a higher tax bracket. It's those crazy people that, you wish you could be that both make 6 figures a year. Yeah, it's my neighbors. Thankfully, they're generous and they're very nice. All right, and then you have head of household, which always kind of throws people what head of household is. No. Seriously? Oh, there it goes. Unmarried taxpayers who support additional people. Single mom, you're not going to file single, you're going to file head of household because you have kids that you support. Or if you support, your grandma, your mom, they're sick and you're like their main support, they can be considered your additional people as well. They take less taxes from you because they know that you're supporting someone. Now, don't have kids just because of tax purposes, okay? Because the amount that you get back in taxes for having kids does not outweigh how much you spend on children throughout the year. They're way more expensive. Yeah, they changed some of the stuff for kids too, like we'll talk about this as we go through, a child tax credit. You used to get back, what was it, $900 per kid. They would take off of the amount of taxes you owe. Now it's $2,000 per kid. And I have 3 kids. Keep in mind, I'm getting back less this year than last year, even though they're giving me more of a child tax credit. More than double what they gave me last year. I'm still getting, well, it's because they took out the exemptions. It's a big difference. All right, your annual tax changes as your blank changes. How does your tax change? As your salary, yeah, your income. As your annual income changes. So if I make more next year than this year, it's going to change how much is taxed. It's all based on how much taxable income you make. Typically every year. Usually like 1 to 3%, somewhere usually in there. Not huge, but it's something. So for the most part, guys, what we'll deal with is your annual income, like to find the taxes on it, that's in that tax booklet. Right? So if you look in here, these are like these big numbers, these are all of your income. So if I made within the 23,000 range, I could look through here and I could find exactly how much they're going to tax me. Okay? We're going to talk about how to use those. Real quick though, look at your tax table booklet. How high do those booklets go in income? 99,999. So once you hit 100,000, the tax table booklet does not work anymore. Okay, so it's not so easy. Then you have to switch to a tax schedule, which they're pretty much dummy proof. Okay, and we'll look at those today too. You can just fill numbers in. So, but anything beyond that, yeah, they're dummy proof. All right, so let's go ahead and go through some examples so we can kind of get some use on this. Now, your tax table booklet, if you would look up 51,000, is not the same as what I have up here. These notes, I screenshotted this from the actual textbook, which is older, so things have changed. So just so you're aware, as far as the notes are concerned, and I have them up here, it's different than your book because this is older. All right, so number 1A, Ron is single. He's using an IRS tax form and calculates that his taxable income is $51,482. The instructions tell him to use the tax table to determine his taxes. How much does Ron owe in taxes? We're going to use your tax table booklets for the moment. Just go ahead and sit those to the side. We're going to use the one on your notes. So just look at your notes. That way we're all doing the same thing here. So a couple things we need to always look for is how are they filing? And it says that Ron is single. So if you look in your tax table over here, you have single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, and head of household. Then it says your tax is, these are all the tax values. The first column in bold, this is your taxable income. Now notice the words here. It says at least, but less than. So if you make at least 51,000, but less than 51,050, you'd fall in here. Notice the very next line starts with the same number. What if I made 51,050? Would I fall in the first line or the second line? I'd fall in the second line because it says but less than. If I made 51,050, that's not less than 51,050. It's at least 51,050. So just keep in mind that this right here is but less than. You have to be less than this, not less than or equal, less than. That's like the biggest thing that you have to kind of watch for. So I will always at every quiz or test give you one that falls directly on there to make sure you know which one it is. All right, so here we go. So Ron makes 51,482. So you would look through. Now, granted, I already marked it on here for you so we can see it. But if you don't kind of look through, 51,482 is going to fall between here and here. Okay, so you're finding what range does that number fall in. And then he is single, so I'm going to look at single. I'm going to look down here. So how much tax does he owe? 9,213. Now, does that mean he has to get out his checkbook and write a check for $9,213? Right. Every time you guys get paid, they take money out for taxes. So that's the number, like, that's what you owe. So then you have to look back and see, all right, how much have I already paid in? Right? If you already have paid in $10,000, you'd get a refund. That's when you get a refund. If I've only paid like $9,000 in so far in taxes for the year, and this is what I owe, I'd have to pay an additional $213. So that's kind of how you get a refund versus you owe in taxes. It depends on how much they took out through the year. If they didn't take out enough, you're going to owe money at the end. All right, 1B, determine the tax for each of the filing status taxable income amounts listed. So head of household, 51,779. Take a minute, see if you can find that on there. Find where does 51,779 fall, and then go over to the head of household, see if you can figure out what the amount should be. Good. You should have found 8,006. Again, I went ahead and circled 51,779. It's going to fall in between here and here. I go over to the head of household column, that same line, it's 8,006. Now, those of you who were asking about, like, he was making the comment about I should have kids if I'm single, that way I can get charged less taxes. Take a look at that. If we look just at this line we were just on, if you're single, look how much you get for taxes. But if you're married filing jointly, you'd only owe like $6,900. If you're married filing separately, and that's how much you made, $9,288. Or if you're single, head of household, it's $8,006. So compared to single in this, if you have kids, they're going to charge you less. No. I don't see any numbers that are exactly the same.
Married filing separately and single are the same number in every county. Or in every.
Oh, for tax purposes.
The same thing.
Correct. The reason you'd have to file that way if you're married is to let them know that you're not doing it jointly. Now, can anybody tell me why the one married filing jointly is so much less?
Because it's taking both.
That's taking both incomes. So if I made that much money and that's my husband and I combined, we don't make much money. But if I'm married and I made that much, they're going to tax me for that. Do you know what I'm saying? But if combined we made that much, because chances are if you're married filing together, the spouse has income too that's going to join in that, so you're going to be higher. You're going to make more. Okay? How about married filing jointly, 51,223? See if you can find that one. $6,881. Again, you're just looking for the number. Where does it fall in the range? and then go over to whatever column. We okay on how the tax tables work? See what I mean? These are actually pretty easy to use tax tables. All right, 1C, express the tax table line that would be used in compound inequality notation, there's fancy math terms for you, for a taxable income of $51,777. Now, this is not an algebra class. I'm not going to get all up in arms about compound inequality notation. I'm really not. Okay? You don't know what that means. Let me show you what it looks like, and then I'll tell you what I think is an acceptable answer. Okay? Compound inequality notation. So let's just saying if I have a taxable income of this, $51,777. So $51,777 is going to fall right here, the one that we've already kind of looked at. So it wants to know what range does that fall in? Well, that's between $51,750. Compound inequality notation looks like this. It's just telling you the numbers where it's between. That's compound inequality notation. All this is saying is X is greater than or equal to this, or it's less than this. My income is falling in between here. As far as what I expect, if you use this, I may give you bonus points. Correctly. You have to use it correctly. Notice the or equals on the first one, but not the second one. Acceptable to me would be if you just wrote 51,750 to 51,800. You're just showing me it's a range in between here and here. I'm okay with that. This is not an algebra class. It's pretty much, can you show me where on the chart this falls? That's all it's asking. Okay, so I'm okay if you just give me the range in between there. All right. Here's the part that always throws people because they don't read carefully enough. See how that word's in bold? It's because it's important that you recognize that. Given the filing status, single, married, head of household, all that stuff, and the tax, identify the taxable income interval that was used to determine that tax. So for single, $9,275, where am I looking? Am I looking in the bold columns or the other ones? The other ones. This is the tax. Tax, your tax is this part in here. So where does 9,275, where is that in the single column? 9,275. It's here. So it wants to know then what was the income that was used to find that tax. The income was $51,700 to $51,750. That's what it's looking for. Most times students mess these up. It's because they don't read carefully. If they give you the tax, you have to look at the tax part of the table. Don't look at the income. That's where most students mess up. They just assume I give you income every time. That's where they look. I hope you make more than $9,000 a year. All right, so then if I look at head of household, if the tax was $8,019, tax, where does that one fall? Head of household, $8,019. So then the income where that fell, $51,800 to $51,850. That is your income. Do you see how big of a difference it makes whether you are given the tax or if you're given the income and what you look at? If you mistake $8,019 for the income, you're going to look on a very different chart than the $51,000 one, okay? Neil, your eyes got real big. You walked in at an odd spot. You weren't here on Monday, right? Okay. We're starting taxes today. And then the bottom paper is your budget paper.
Also, I owed $137.
You owe? Interesting. All right, example 2. Maria and Don are married taxpayers filing a joint return. Their combined taxable income is $153,900. The IRS offers a tax schedule so that taxpayers can calculate their tax. Use the tax schedule below for married taxpayers filing jointly to calculate Maria and Don's tax. why can they not just go to the tax table booklet and look it up? It's over 100,000. So if it's over 100,000, you can't just go to the tax table booklet. Okay, you got to go to the schedule. They always call these different schedules. All right, so it says if your taxable income is, so this is where, again, notice the difference. This is income. This is tax. If I give you the income, this table is easy. It's when I give you the tax that throws everyone. Okay, so again, I gave you their income, 153,900. So I need to look and see where do they fall within here. If it is over this amount but not over here. So where are they going to fall? Good. They're going to fall within this range right here. So that means they are using this entire line, kind of working across. Find where they fall, and then just kind of follow the line across to see what it tells you to do. It says their tax is, and they want you to take 25,550 plus, it says 28% of the amount over that. How do you figure out how much over that they are? You subtract. So 28% of the amount over. Well, they made 153,900. Running out of space. Minus 131,450. And I'm writing it all out because I know what's coming next, and I want you to kind of see the process. But again, let's make sure you're clear on where all this is coming from. We figured out their income fell between here and here. So then to find their tax, I take 25,550 plus 28%, that's my 0.28, of the amount over this. Well, how much over are they? You just got to subtract their income minus the number they gave you. Okay? So that's what we got to do. Just do a little math here. We can type that whole thing in all in one shot. So 25,550 plus 0.28 times 153,900 minus 131,450. So how much tax do they owe? What'd you guys figure out? Perfect. So their tax equals $31,836. Now, kind of the flip of this is 2A. For what taxable income would the taxpayer have to pay $9,792.25? What part did they give you? What is this? That's their tax. Now, the last tax table, we looked over at tax and we were able to find the exact number and kind of work our way back, no big deal, right? This time, it's not as clear cut. So where does $9,792.25, where does that fall in this tax range? Which line? 1, 2, 3? Second one? So this one? This one? So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So the third one? You're correct, it is the third one. That is where more students than anything else struggle, is figuring out where you fall. Pretty much, you guys remember prices, right? It's always the closest without going over. That's what you want to look at. They give you the tax. I need to look here. And it can't be this line that we just worked with, because this is going to be at least $25,000 in taxes. That's not that one. This one is $8,000 in taxes plus something, right? That one makes more sense. It is the closest without going over. That's the easiest way to kind of find that. You're kind of looking through this first number. What is the closest number without going over my tax? And that's the line that you fall in. I can't go over because the very next one says I'm going to pay at least $25,000. I'm not paying $25,000. I'm only at $9,000. Okay? All right, so the way we set this up here was your tax equals how we set that up. So my tax is $9,792.25. This is tax. Okay. kind of write this in words as we go, equals, and then we just kind of took the number from the table, right? So once we know that we're here, that's what I'm going to do. $8,962.50. So that number is from the table. Plus 25%, so 0.25. Again, that's from the table. And then when I did it over here, right, I had the number plus percent, and then I took what? Where did the 153,900 come from? Yes, that was your income. In this case, I don't know what that is. So it's your income minus, and it's the number right here, 65,100. That's from table. How important is it to find the correct line? Very. Every number is wrong if you don't choose the right line. Okay, so it's always closest without going over. If you can remember that, you're going to be fine. And again, I'm just reading it across, and I'm just plugging in the numbers they give me. The only difference is when we have the tax given, I don't know what the income is, so you're going to have an X in it. That means we have algebra to do. Once it's set up, I need to solve this. What's the first thing you want to do? How do you solve something? Here's my equation. What's the first thing I do? Distribute. Good. So I'm just going to kind of rewrite $9,792.25 equals $8,962.50 plus, go ahead and distribute, that's 0.25x. Then we're going to multiply 0.25 times 65,100. Don't forget that's a minus in between there. 16,275. Then what? If you're solving, what would be the next thing you'd do with that? I'd put like terms together. Some of you may move things in 2 steps, totally fine. If that's your thing. I like to put like terms. Right, so this is a like term with this. I'm just going to put those together. So 8,962.50 minus 16,275. So that's going to give me negative 7,312.50 plus 0.25x. If you have those written flip-flop, totally fine. All right. From there, what do you do to solve? Good. You're going to add that to the other side. So I'm going to add 7312.50. So we get 17,104.75 equals 0.25x. Then how do I solve that for x? Divide by 0.25. So we should get x equals $68,419. So the question again asked you, how much money did they make in order to have to pay $9,792.25 in taxes? They made $68,419. Does that follow through with what we had on the table for the range they were in? We said they fell here. Did our 68,000 fall within this range? Yeah, so we fell within the right range. Makes sense. So of all the problems in this chapter, those are the ones that give people the hardest time. So my suggestion, maybe highlight, star that example. Hopefully you wrote down some kind of notes to yourself to help you remember where all those numbers came from. Because if you're going to struggle anywhere, it's going to be right there. Questions on any of that? You okay? Sure. So if your filing status is married filing jointly, okay? And we have for what taxable income would a taxpayer have to pay $61,229? What is this? Is it income or is it tax? That's tax. So if they give you tax, which part of the table are you looking at? The left or the right? The right, because it says the tax is. So take a minute, nobody say anything out loud. Where does that fall? Which line of my taxes am I looking at? Take a minute, look at it. Which line does it fall in? Neil, you just came in late. What line does that fall in? Good, you were correct. Line 5 would be this one right here. Again, reason being, my tax is $61,000. I want closest without going over. 96,000 went over, so it's going to be the one right above it. Closest without going over is that second to last line. Please ask right now if that does not make sense to you, because I need to make sure. If you don't know the right line, then everything else is wrong. All right, so specific question? All I'm looking at, literally I'm looking at this right here. When I'm trying to figure out where it goes, I'm looking just that first set of numbers. Good question. Closest without going over is 44,000. The next one's too high. All right, do we want to try this one on our own? All right, I'll give you guys a few minutes. Look out for the last one if you're not sure. See if you can set this up and solve this for X. All right, so we already established what line it fell in, closest without going over. Again, just looking at that first set of numbers. So the 44,828. Oops. I should probably set this up the right way, right? I'll start from there. Tax equals. See, that's just lazy mathematician right there. Plus 0.33x times, not an x. Oh my gosh, a day off killed me, you guys. And it'd be x minus, some of you lost the minus sign right there, 200,300. All right, it's just right across your whole line there. All right, so we should have distributed as your first thing that you did. All right, so I have 61,229 equals 44,828. Plus, we distribute, we get 0.33x. Some of you lost your sign there. That should be minus 66,099. All right, I like to put like terms together. Let's put those together. 61,229. Now subtract those. You will get a negative here, so don't panic. Negative 21,271. It's a negative here, which is okay, because to move it to this side, you have to add it. All right, so that gives me 82,500 equals 0.33x. Divide by 0.33. So we get x equals $250,000. They make a lot of money. All right, for the most part, you guys looked really good. Maybe lost a sign or two in there somewhere. Now, the thing that might help some of you on your notes, let me erase some of this craziness we got going on up here. Every time when these tables are set up like this, like we're reading straight across, right? So maybe just make a note in here that this is x minus on all of these. Oops, one there. So then once you pick the right line, there it is. It's like right across. It's already in there for you. That's where your x goes. What does x stand for? Your income. Your income. So if I told you how much you made, and I fit in here and I asked you to figure out what the tax was, instead of an x, you would just put the income in there, right? This is income. So if that helps you, that way you kind of see the equation written out, maybe that'll help you guys out later on, especially with that minus that should be there. Some of you were putting a plus sign. Okay. Last two types, this is where I told you they're kind of dummy proof. They're trying to be like, all right, here we go. We're going to take you step by step how to figure this out. So the IRS includes the tax schedule for information purposes only for taxable incomes over $100,000. So you have to use a tax worksheet. So we kind of looked at the little schedule that they gave us to figure it out. They also do it this way as well. Here's a portion of the worksheet. Calculate Maria and Don's tax using this one. So Maria and Don were from that very last example. How much did they make? $153,900. Okay, that was how much they made. So could we use this to help us figure it out instead of trying to like reason through that table? So it says if your taxable income, which is line 43 when we're filing taxes, but we had 153,900. So not the first box, they're the second box, right? Enter the amount from line 43, meaning what was their income? 153,900. And it says times 28%, 0.28. They're trying to make sure we're not going to mess up there. And then it says, C says multiply A times B. Multiply 153,900 times 0.28. So you should get 43,092. Subtraction amount. And then it says subtract D from C. Okay, do what it says. And we get 31,836. They tried to make it dummy proof for people who don't know what they're doing and who aren't great at math. Okay? Is that the same answer we got before? Look back in your notes. When we figured it out looking at the other way. Where was Maria and Don? There they were. It's exactly what we did. We the 28%, they had to subtract, do all of this, whatnot. It's the same idea. They just made a dummy proof for you. Instead of finding where it was and kind of working across, they're like, here we go. We're going to take you step by step, baby steps, all the way through this, and you can find it. Okay. Last one. Davida and John have a taxable income of $118,675. Use the worksheet to determine what their tax should be. So same idea. Which line do they fall under? 1, 2, 3, or 4? 1. 118,675 is at least 100, but not over 131. So that's the 118,675. It says to multiply by 25%, or 0.25. Okay, actually multiply and we get 29,668.75. Subtraction amount. They tell us what to subtract. And then for taxes, they should owe $22,356.25. So are these little worksheet table things any different than that other schedule that we looked at? No, they're no different. They're just trying to get you to be dummy proof to work your way through that. Okay? All right, so how are we feeling about tax tables? Does it make sense how tax tables work? Okay?